All right, welcome back to the In My Element podcast. We have a super exciting guest, another fellow Honda Element dweller, Jer from Jer's Toaster on YouTube. What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Dude, I'm awesome. Chilling by the beach, just enjoying the beautiful weather. Whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm in Carborough, North Carolina. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. It's like kind of close to Chapel Hill, I guess, is the if that's still too small of a city. Raleigh, North Carolina will get you close. Yeah, that's where I'm at. The Southeast.
Yeah, I'm honestly not familiar, but I'll overlay a map so people can see exactly where you're at.
It's like central North Carolina. Just as long as you find North Carolina, just like put a dot in the middle. That's about where I am.
So you just started your adventures. You just went full time in your Honda Element, and I was curious as to why did you start doing the van life in your Honda Element?
Yeah, so I'm a kayaker, right? And I realized with kayaking, whitewater kayaker, I realized with kayaking, if you live somewhere that doesn't have a ton of whitewater, which is where I was living, then it just sucks, dude. You're driving like 4 hours to the mountains, you're on the river for 4 hours, and then you drive 4 hours back home. And I was just going back and forth and back and forth. And at one point I was like, dude, this is dumb. Like there's no reason for me to go back and forth and back and forth every single week, every single day, whatever. So I used to drive a Civic. So I started living out of the Civic part-time. Like I'd go out there for like 2 weeks and live out of the Civic. And like at first it was like, okay, this isn't bad. But as time went on, like, dude, a Civic is just not really big. Like I had a two-door Civic too, a 98 Honda Civic EX two-door. So like it was entirely not meant to be like lived out of. It was awful. To sleep, I literally had to like climb into the trunk essentially and like wiggle my way in. Yeah, so and that car was so old that it leaked. So like when it rained, like it would just rain like into the car, and it was just a mess. So I got rid of it. But I was like, well, hey, if I'm getting a new car anyways, let me get something I can live out of. And then the idea was like, well, why don't I just do this permanently? If I'm already gone half the month and I literally only come back to like do laundry and some errands and then I leave again, like what's the point? So I decided, well, I'm going to do this full time. I was looking at vans and everything, and well, this is what, 2022. So like the beginning of 2022, the car market was just awful. I would literally like look up a car and it'd be broken and still cost more than what it would be brand new. So I was like, I'm not doing this. So I got lucky and ended up finding an Element, and I bought it from this lady that took really good care of it. And from there I was like, all right, well, this is the one. I got really fortunate that I had someone that could help me build it out, but built it out, and within a month of buying it, I'm living out of it full time, and I love it, dude. It's been amazing. It's been awesome.
So when you were shopping around and you saw the Sprinters, big vans, and they're super expensive, did you kind of like intentionally look for a Honda Element, or were you looking at other like smaller cargo vans? Because it sounds like you're kind of a Honda fanboy, and I think a lot of us are. So
Yeah, a little bit. I'll be honest, a little bit. So my first car was a CRV, and that thing, like back in high school, I abused the hell out of that thing, man. Like I was like racing the CRV down like back roads and stuff. I lived in Massachusetts at the time, so I would like take it four wheeling when it wasn't the all-wheel drive version, but like but it still worked, and it did everything I ever asked of it. And then when I had that Civic, I stopped doing maintenance on that Civic probably like 6 months before I got rid of it, and it still ran really well. Like at a certain point I was only running off 3 cylinders for like 5,000 miles, which is unbelievable that it still was running. And I put that thing through tons of abuse as well, and I was like, well, look, if the Hondas are doing really well, I might as well go for it. I was looking at Sprinters, but it's just like, dude, I'm not that rich. I wish I was, but like even if they knocked like a zero off the end of the price of the Sprinters, I still couldn't afford it. I was like, that's not happening. Otherwise, like, yeah, dude, if I had $150,000 to spare, yeah, I'd be in a Sprinter right now.
150K for a van is honestly a little ludicrous, And
Yeah.
I think that's what's so special about the Honda Element, because they are increasing in value, which is
Yeah.
awesome for people who own them. But there's so much versatility, and it's so small, but yet it's can do all of the adventures that you could possibly imagine. So how does your kayak setup work? I imagine you have it on the
It's
roof
on.
somewhere.
Yeah, it's on. Actually, I wonder if you can see it. Hold
All
on.
right.
I don't know if that.
Oh my God.
So there you go. So I've got a bunch of stuff on my roof, um, which is something else that I learned throughout this process as well, is that moving into any vehicle, it's so personalized, right? Like everybody has different needs, everybody has different requirements. So I'm somebody that, like, as far as climate control goes, as long as I won't die, I'm okay. Like I'll figure it out. I'll put more layers on, or I'll just sweat my ass off, whatever. But I know some people that if it's not like 70, they freak out. So for me, my needs were that I needed to be able to put a kayak and all my gear in the vehicle somewhere, or on the vehicle somewhere, right? So obviously the answer is the roof, because it's stupid to have a kayak in here. I tried it, it did not work. I just, like, immediately, like, half of my living space is gone. Um, all my gear gets wet all the time too, and having that in here just made it smell like mold all the time too, and so that's also on the roof. But yeah, dude, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to utilize the roof. It does make trying to stay stealthy a little more difficult, because everywhere I go, people are like, oh, there's a giant kayak on this dude's roof, and I play a little bit more careful with that. But like that's how I have to make it work.
So now that you're kind of on the road, I saw like in some of your YouTube videos that you were kind of working from coffee shops.
Yeah.
What is it that you do for work that allows you to kind of travel and kayak all over the place?
Well, the real answer is that I don't have a solid job. Like I don't have a real job. I'm a river guide, I guess is the way to put it. In the industry, we have what we call mercenary guides. Basically, you're not attached to any specific outfitter. Just go wherever. And it's also like within the same season. So I currently work for 2 outfitters. I just applied for a third one, and I may pick up a fourth one, but they're located all around North Carolina. So if they need someone to run a trip and I happen to be in the area, I'll do that. Or I'll schedule my availability where I like spend a week at each spot and just have availability for that week only for that outfitter. So I'll do stuff like that. And that's kind of how I make money. The eventual goal is to make money off of YouTube, right? Like that's the end goal. So then I don't have to be outfitting and doing guided trips and stuff. For YouTube, I actually have 2 channels. My kayaking channel just got monetized, which is super cool. I make like $6 a month.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm getting there. I can buy like half a meal once a month. But I do have a kayaking channel, and that one's getting bigger. I do have the Jer's Toaster is the Vanlife channel. I'm hoping that gets bigger as well, and through the both of those, I'm hoping I make enough money to support this lifestyle. Right now, I'm just kind of using that a little bit and then guiding to make up the remainder. And the hope is that I can stop guiding and do only YouTube.
So it sounds like you're pretty serious about kayaking. It sounds like your whole life almost revolves around it. And I think some of the most like successful people are those who are like hyper focused on that one single thing. Could you tell us maybe like how you got into kayaking in the first place?
Okay, so yeah, like I've definitely made it my entire personality, which is good or bad depending on how you view it. But I volunteer for a rescue squad. That's another thing that I do. I volunteer for a rescue squad, and we were at the Green River in North Carolina. And this is before I knew anything about kayaking, right? And the Green River is one of the most well-known whitewater rivers in the world. So I was there, and we're at these like, I hesitate to call them waterfalls, but they're essentially like waterfalls, and they're pretty big rapids. And I was like just impressed by how crazy the water looked. And then next thing you know, I see like dudes in kayaks coming down. And I was like, there's no way. Like, what are you doing? But that image, that moment never left my brain. So 6 months later, I wandered into a local kayak shop, and I was like, hey, I want to learn how to whitewater kayak. And I had like my roommate's fishing kayak and some random like paddle I bought from Walmart. And the guy behind the desk was just like, dude, what are you doing? like you're not gonna be whitewater kayaking in that. Some time went by. Eventually, he taught me a little bit, and then there's a really good community here in the Southeast on it, and they're really welcoming, and they just welcomed me in, and I just took it and went with it. And next thing you know, I want to say I'm kayaking like at a really advanced level, but I'm kayaking at a pretty decent level. Consider myself a pretty strong intermediate, and it just kind of took off from there. Made a channel and everything, and that started as like just like a fun thing I did. I had zero video editing skills, zero anything skills before that, and I was just like, yeah, this will be like my creative outlet. And as that went on, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger for the kayaking world. Not so much big in terms of YouTube, but for the kayaking world, bigger and bigger. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Uh, Before we continue, I want everybody who's watching this to subscribe to his channel right now so we can help him support and get to his goal, and that way we can see more content from your channel. I was actually surprised when you said you didn't have video editing experience, because when I was watching your videos, I was like, wow, this is really nice editing, and the thumbnails were like very catching on Jared's toaster. I was like, wow, this guy must have some experience in video editing.
So my experience is, like I said, I turned this into my whole personality, right? Like
Sure.
this is just, I had nothing else going on for me in life other than this. So it got to the point where I was like, all right, well, if I'm diving into this, if I want to make a living out of this, I have to give 100% to this. And I'm somebody that believes that like you shouldn't have a plan B, if that makes sense. And I realize that's kind of counter to what a lot of people believe. But I think if you have a plan B, then you give yourself a fallback, and then you don't try as hard in your plan A, because it's not like a life or death issue anymore. You're just like, oh, if this fails, I'll do this instead. But if you don't give yourself that other option, then you have to make it work, right? Like it doesn't matter what's going on, you're gonna find a way to make it work. So I quit everything, dropped out of school, and was like, I'm gonna make this YouTube thing work. And it literally was, I would spend, while everybody else was working a regular job, 40 hours a week at work or whatever, I'm spending those same 40 hours researching how to video edit, researching how to like create a thumbnail, actually doing the video editing. The Jared Toaster is a relatively newer channel. I think it's only been up for like a month and a half, maybe. But Jared Kayaks, if you go to some of my older videos, like it's pretty rough. I like whenever I go back, I'm like kind of embarrassed whenever I watch it of just like how not skilled the editing was. And it's still obviously like a work in progress. I'm not perfect now, but I did spend a lot of time doing it. So the Jared's Toaster channel is definitely a lot more polished because of that, just because I've had a year of like going hard at it every day to figure it out.
Has there ever been a time when you were out kayaking where maybe you had like a dangerous situation, or maybe during a rescue of sorts where, maybe nothing too morbid, but have you ever been in sort of like a sketchy situation?
I mean, I think the sketchy situations are just pretty constant. It doesn't, not like I'm trying to think of how to word this, because I've been in this sport long enough and I've done this long enough now that certain things are almost normal, right? Like, so there'll be a rapid that's like, hey, if you go right here, you might get really hurt. And so, well, I guess a normal person might just be like, well, why are we running this rapid? My answer is just like, all right, well, don't go right. Like, and then and it kind of becomes almost normalized in a way. You have rapids that are dangerous, but it's like, this is the way you do it. And if you feel good about it and you feel like you can do it, then you do it. If you don't feel good about it, you just walk around it. As far as specific situations, I mean, it really depends on what your scale of like sketchy is, right? Because there's been times where I've run a rapid where it's like, hey, if you miss the line, like you're probably going to die.
Wow.
There's been times where it's like, just like you do like someone gets caught underwater for a second and you have to cut like a line that they got tangled in. But nothing, I haven't had any like really crazy things happen yet, and I hope it never turns out that way.
Yeah, I'll knock on some wood for you.
Yeah, I don't have any wood. But yeah, I mean, it's almost becomes, it's a hard thing to explain when you're constantly surrounded by, not death, because that sounds so morbid, but when you're constantly surrounded by danger, by risk, Even living out of a vehicle, I think is the same way, right? Like people are like, wow, I can't believe you sleep in that small of a space. But when you do that every day, like it becomes normal. And I'm sure you know that probably better than I do.
Yeah, after 3 years, you
Yeah.
come across all sorts of situations. I'll
Hmm.
share one recently. So I was drifting off to sleep. It was like 8:30,
Yeah.
and I've gotten so comfortable. Sometimes I don't even put the window shades up, right? So I'm drifting off to sleep, and then all of a sudden I see this guy like peering into my window, and I thought he was gonna break in. So I was like half asleep. So my instinct was to knock on my own window, and that scared the shit out of this guy. He was not ready for that. So he took off, and I pulled down my window shades, and I see him running to another vehicle. So either they were after my catalytic converter or they were trying to break in,
Hmm.
but either way, he was not expecting me to be in there. And that's the first time I've had any like real like sketchy situation
Hmm.
while living inside of this vehicle. So yeah, it was a little weird. It was a little weird to be in that situation.
And it's one of those things that too, like it'll probably happen again at some point. Like it's just that's just how it is. And you're just like, yeah, it happened. Like it's from living in my like I'm not just gonna be like, oh, okay, now that happened, I'm never doing this again. Like
Right.
it's just a part of it.
You
Um,
can't live in fear. You gotta keep pushing on.
exactly. But I think that's what stops a lot of people from going into this van life kind of lifestyle. Is I know a lot of people, actually, almost everybody that I've talked to, at some point has been like, "Oh, dude, that sounds so cool! Like, I would love to live that lifestyle."
Right.
Like, everybody wants to do it, but nobody's not nobody. Very few people are willing to take that like step forward to actually do it and go through with it. And I get it, right? It's a commitment. Like, it's not like I just accidentally ended up in this element. Like, I had to make steps forward to make that happen. But I think a lot of people they get that idea and then they live in fear of like, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe they want to have a bathroom that's not like
Right.
the sometimes, maybe they want to have more stability, whatever it is. But I think a lot of people really just kind of cut themselves short a little bit. They might not believe they're as capable as they really are.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people get hung up on the vehicle, right? I feel like they get hung up on I gotta have the Sprinter van, I
Mhm.
gotta have this full build out. But like you said, you did it in your Honda Element. So I mean, in your Honda Civic.
Yeah.
So it's really like you said, it's people just kind of living in fear of the unknown. I think of like taking that first step
Yeah.
into living this life of adventure, which has a lot of benefits, but then along with it, there are some like sketchier
Yeah, I
situations.
mean, I would say living out of that Civic, I definitely had some like the highest highs I've ever experienced, and also like some of the lowest lows. Like I'm in the middle of nowhere, like my Civic's broken, and I'm like trying to figure it out. I can't get signal. I'm like the only auto parts store is like an advanced auto parts that's like 5 miles down the road, and they don't have what I need. And I'm like, well, fuck, dude. I'm just gonna hang out here for like 2 days. Um, but at the same time, like you have I think you learn to appreciate the little things. Um, just yesterday, dude, I went to a Harris Teeter. I don't know if you all have Harris Teeters over in California.
Oh, what?
It's a grocery store.
Okay.
Harris Teeter, yeah. So it's a grocery store. So I went to a grocery store and they had a sale. They were doing like grilled chicken, like actually warm and made grilled chicken.
Mm,
It was an 8-piece thing, which is a ton of chicken for $6, but if you got two of them, they were $5 each. So for $10, you get like a huge, like more than what would feed a family. And so I literally bought it, sat in like their little like customer service area where they had a table. I was just like eating this chicken in the grocery store. And that was one of the happiest moments of my life, dude, because it was just like I found a good deal and I'm eating this nice warm chicken. And I haven't had a solid meal in like a few days just because I don't have a cooking setup yet. Like I was kind of rushed doing this. So like I'm having a nice warm meal and it tastes really good and it was cheap and like I have a table to sit on. I'm not like cramped up in the element eating. And I was like, dude, this is perfect. But like that's something that I think your average person would just like it's just chicken to them. But once you appreciate the small things, like that's what makes people happy, I guess. That's what makes I don't know how to explain it, but your perspective is different. Like you get happy over the small things instead of worrying about, like, did I catch up on this TV show that everybody's watching or whatever it is.
I'm sure there's a famous quote out there that says like
Yeah, there's probably someone better than I did.
To appreciate the little things, you have to whatever.
You know exactly what I mean. Yeah.
I do. So I have a question. Who inspired you to like live the van life? Did you watch anybody's like YouTube channel? Did you read any books? What inspired you?
I think honestly, so there's this book called Goodbye Things. I can't remember who it's by right now. It's some guy from Japan. I can't remember who it's by. Goodbye Things, it's what it's called. It's a book about minimalism. And I don't consider myself really a minimalist, although if you live out of a van, you kind of have to be, right? That's just part of it. But I read this book, and in the past, my experience with minimalism has always been essentially like some like crazy weirdo that lives in a cave and like owns like one towel and that's all they own, And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like I'm not some weird like whatever. But this guy wrote this book and he tells it from the perspective of like your everyday loser, essentially. And I was like, well, I'm your everyday loser. Like I can do this too. And it really put the dots together and connected it all. And once I started kind of getting rid of my things, whether that be through donating them or like giving them away or selling it or whatever it is, I realized like, oh, there's something unique and special about having everything you own be with you, right? Everything you own is with you. You know what every single thing, like you're not finding something and being like, oh, I forgot I had this, because you only have so many things. And your real concern, honestly, every day is just like, where do I sleep and what do I eat? And like, that's kind of it. All right, all the other things in life just fade away because that's all you really care about. And so once I started doing that, I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. This is making me happier than I ever am. A lot of kayakers I know live at other cars, whether it's part-time or full-time. And so I kind of took inspiration on that. I did look at a few like YouTube videos and stuff like that, but a lot of it was Sprinter van focused, which again was just outside my budget. And the other thing is that a lot of it didn't apply to my situation, right? A lot of those guys aren't kayakers. A lot of those guys require different things. And I was like, well, this is such a personalized, like I can't just copy somebody's build because their build isn't going to do what I want to do. And so it was a very short-lived thing that I was on the internet with it. Most of it was taken from people I knew in real life that were doing similar things.
There's a certain type of person that does the van life, and so we have surfers, rock climbers, kayakers. I didn't even know about that. Who else?
I'd say mountain bikers.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's true.
Any like outdoor sport, like
Yeah,
where you gotta kind of travel to make it work. I think you'll see out there. And then I think there's also the guys that live in the desert and stuff. Like I don't know if I would do that. I like green more than I like desert.
yeah.
Like off-road overland crew, like they'll live out of their vehicles too.
Yeah, I was on my way to the Grand Canyon, and I saw like this in the middle of nowhere, just a bunch of RVs parked in the middle of the desert. I was like, I don't know if I can do that because I gotta show you where I'm at. I wonder if I can flip this screen here. Anyway, I'm at the ocean. Like,
that's awesome, dude. Where in California are you?
So I'm living in Southern California right now.
Okay.
And there are so many places to park. Like there's so many hiking trails. Like I think Southern California is just so awesome for van life. How is North Carolina with van life?
It depends where you are. If you're in kind of like, so if you're on the coast, I think it's pretty okay, from what I've heard. If you're in the mountains, it's kind of pretty okay from what I've heard. But if you're in the central area, a central area is kind of very, I don't think they're super friendly to it. If that makes sense. Like here, all the parks close at like sundown. So it's not like you can just like stay in the park somewhere, and they're all like kind of, the parks aren't great to begin with. I don't think the maybe it's just the specific areas I've been, but I feel like it's a lot of like business and tech and medical and things like that, but people that are like living, normal lives. And so I get weird looks all the time. As stealthy as I try to be, and I understand like with a kayak on top, it's kind of hard to be super stealthy. But I try my best and I still get weird looks all the time. I tried to hitchhike a few times and it's really difficult to hitchhike out here, man. I feel when I was on the coast, it's a lot easier. In the mountains, super easy, dude. Like mountains, like literally, you're on the road for like 10 minutes and you've got to ride somewhere. But here in the center part, I literally walked for like an hour and a half down this road before somebody finally picked me up, and I'd almost already walked to like another place I needed to be.
Wow.
So I don't think it's super friendly. I guess this area is more people that are doing it, the weekend warriors, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
They work like a nice job in the cities or something, and they have their sprinter van that they spend all their money on, and then they go out for the weekend, and then they go to camp, but like that camp has to have running water and stuff for them, and then they come back. I hope none of them hear this because there's a few of them that I'm specifically thinking about. but yeah, I feel like that's kind of the vibe here. Whereas once you get to the mountains or the coast, like people are more open to it.
Do you have future plans for your Honda Element build? You mentioned you didn't have like a cooking setup, and I saw the video where you kind of gave a little bit of a tour, and I thought the build was awesome, like, especially that little bench desk area that you have in the back. Do you have any future plans?
Well, so I'm a little on hold right now because I've only done this for literally like 2 weeks, so I haven't had enough time to deal with a lot of issues that will probably come up at some point. It's just things that like you just don't know until it happens. I'd like to kayak in literally every state. Like that's one of the goals is go to every single state in the US, go to Canada, go to Mexico, maybe South America if I drive all the way down there.
Wow.
Kayak in like every single state, every single spot. But in order to get to that point, I think I need to be more successful on YouTube first. I don't think I have the cash coming in to make that happen yet. And then the other thing is I really want to inspire other people to get outside their comfort zone, man. Like I said, I think a lot of people just don't think they're capable of things like this, even though they really are. And I would hate to be somebody that grows up to be like 50 or 60 and is like, oh, I wish I did this when I was young. And I hear that all the time from people that I talk to. And I can't imagine having to live a life like that. And I hope really no one ever has to. So if anybody's ever on the fence of like, do I want to get into van life? Like I hope through my channel or whatever else they see that inspires them to be like, hey, like this is doable. Because at the end of the day, like I'm doing this with, not a ton of money. I did this without a ton of setup. And I think this is the same for a lot of people that do van life is that you're not perfect going into it, man. Like nothing's ever perfect. You're going into it really as prepared as you can be, but as prepared as you can be is usually still pretty unprepared when it comes to like figuring things out. I don't have electrical yet. I don't have a cooking setup yet. I have like a jet boil, but like that's kind of it. Like I don't have a real cooking setup. But that's all stuff that will come with time. And for those people that think you have to spend 6 months to a year outfitting a van out with everything perfect before you get on the road, like my opinion is if you do that, you just never end up on the road. You just keep doing things to this van and it never actually leaves that spot.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I loved about your story is that it's just so adventurous. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. Like, and there wasn't a lot of like time spent in between, like getting the element and then taking off. You got the build and you just went for it. And I think that's probably the best way to learn about van life is just to give it a try. Maybe for a weekend you can rent vans on Outdoorsy or whatever, and just give it a try. So I want to know if you have any questions for me in this channel.
I do actually. So my first question, I guess, is because I watched your video on like stealth, right?
Sure.
And agree with all your points. Problem is I have a kayak on my roof. So that's where I'm like, dude, like I don't know what the answer is here, man. Like, because I can park at places, but it's so much easier for people to recognize my vehicle just because there's only one vehicle in the entire parking lot that has a kayak on top, you know, and like
And it's
if I
orange.
yeah, and it's orange. And if I get kicked out of one parking lot, like I'm probably gonna get kicked out of most of them in that area, usually is how it goes. Just because like I can't like get kicked out of one parking lot and go to another parking lot and have people think it's a different car. Like they know it's the same car. And you can see the car when you can see the kayak above everybody else's car. So it's like just a beacon there for security to show up to. So my question for you is like, dude, do you have any tips on how to get through this, or is it just like something that it is what it is? You know?
Oh man. Well, I think in your situation it's gonna be really tough, because you have the kayak with you. At least the vibe here in Southern California is they don't care. Like you can come to Southern California and you can have park anywhere with your kayak on top, and people just don't care. They really don't. So I don't know if maybe North Carolina is a little bit smaller, and it's like maybe the people kind of know each other a little bit more and they spot the van. So I guess my advice
Mhm.
or would be just to start moving.
Start
Start
moving.
start
Yeah.
moving, man. Just like go from one spot. All right, I'm burned here. Then it's off to the next
That's
one, and then and then by that you'll be able to see more of the U.S.
Yeah, I think honestly it's just the like specific area I'm in. I think once I get to the mountains and the coast, I don't think it's an issue anymore. It's just this specific like college town kind of area that I'm in, I think is a lot of it too. So that's yeah. Another question I have for you, man, is like how do you create content? Like what is your the reason I ask is because I went into this thinking like, oh, I'll just go to coffee shops and I'll like continue to film and continue to create content without electrical, which maybe that's just something I need to figure out first. But like all my devices are usually constantly floating at like 20%. And then I like charge as much as I can at a coffee shop and they're all floating at like 20% again in another day. And like filming is weird. I feel like filming is weird when I'm in a parking lot and like cars are pulling in and out and like I'm talking to like a tripod and everyone's just like, what is this guy doing? And so that and I mean you mentioned earlier you go to sleep at like 8 or 9, which is kind of what I do now. Like on my sleep cycle now follows the sun.
Right. Yes. One of the great things of van life.
Yeah, so it's like if I have a video I want to work on and now it's 8 or 9, like there's it's just not I'm not working through the night,
No.
and it's just something you just got to deal with basically.
Yeah, so I get most of my filming done super early in the morning. I mean, like 6 a.m. Sun's
Okay.
up, 7 a.m. There's less people around, you know.
Yeah.
You also get more comfortable the more you do it. So I mean, I'll talk straight up to a camera, and I whatever. People will look around and they'll stare, but you're working. You gotta kind of like just tune out anybody who's like watching you and just kind of do your thing. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And also, I think this is just another like California thing. It's Hollywood, whatever you want to call it. People are so used to that sort of thing that's like, oh, whatever, he's a vlogger or doing his thing.
Hmm.
um so yeah, the more you do it, the the easier it gets for sure. And as far as like content ideas, that I have a huge list in my phone,
Yeah.
and I just like, all right, what are we going to film today? What is going to capture people's attention? um and the more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you learn what people like to see, what they don't like to see. And really, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like Mr. Beast has done a ton of podcasts recently, and he
Yeah.
kind of gives like his formula of how to
Mhm.
keep attention and how to give titles that are like super engaging. And it's like in the title you give a good statement like the Honda Element is the best van ever,
Right.
or something like it's like a bold statement, and that gets people to click. And I think that's the hardest part about YouTube, is getting people to click. And then as long as your content's good, you'll be able to create good content.
And that's what I figured out too so far is that like it doesn't matter how good your content is if nobody clicks on it, right? Like that's why I put so much effort into the thumbnails is because I was like, well, it's yeah, again, it doesn't matter how good my content is if nobody clicks on it, somebody has to click on it first.
Yeah, and your thumbnails are super awesome. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta click this.
Yeah, dude, I love making the thumbnails. Like I didn't realize I enjoyed video editing, photo editing so much until recently, until I started doing this, and I was like, well, dude, I don't know why it took me so long to discover this.
Dude,
But like I enjoy it.
I'm gonna need your help with my thumbnails because they're awful, and I love yours, dude. So maybe I can give you some work your way if you want to work on my thumbnails.
Dude, I enjoy it. I don't know if I want to do it for other people yet because I don't
Fair,
know
fair.
how that works, man. Like the other thing, dude, is like, so you're monetized on YouTube, I assume, right? You have
Mhm.
over 1,000, yeah.
Yeah,
You have 2,500, I think, something
yeah.
like that. Um, so another issue I've run into is like music and copyright. So because I'm kayaking, actually, this probably applies to you too. You're in national forests and national parks all the time, right?
Sure.
Do you have to, like, I don't know how the system works. Do you have to get permits to shoot? Because everything you do is commercial now, technically, isn't
Yeah, so I think last year they passed, at least in national parks, that you can film commercially there
it?
without a license or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing where it gets tricky is with drone shots. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so if you have a drone, there's like a lot of regulations on where you can fly, where you can't fly.
Hmm.
But just normal shooting, nah, it's not a big deal.
Okay, that's good. Because like the last thing I want to do is like put all this effort into a video and like put it up and immediately get like the FBI like like, all right, guys, I didn't mean to. Yeah,
I mean, I guess unless the video you make gets like a million views, I don't think anyone's really going to notice, to be honest. And
that's true.
it's yeah, I think it's once you start to make a lot of money that the agencies are going to want their cut of it, you know. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you're filming in national parks and state parks, it's not an issue unless there's a drone involved.
Gotcha. And I wish I had a drone too, because drone footage is amazing, man. Like you can do so much with drones.
Totally, slowly build up your arsenal of video gear.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I'm on my like fifth GoPro now, which not to like talk shit about GoPro, but like GoPro is not all what it's cracked out to be. They or maybe I'm just too rough on it. That's the other possibility because I'm literally like slamming this thing into like different types of water all the time. It's like bouncing off rocks and stuff. And I'm always in a water environment with it. So
Yeah.
it's like that's probably part of it.
Luckily, it's not salt water because that would ruin the GoPro.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's very true.
But I do pay for something called Soundstripe, and it's like a music service. So yeah, I that's been super helpful, and I think people really enjoy like having music in the YouTube video. So I think that's a good expense if you're going to be working on YouTube videos a lot, you know.
Oh, I agree. And I think people outside the editing world, I think don't realize the effect that music can have. I think people don't realize just how much because you can put the same exact clip just over different music and
Totally.
it's a whole different thing. Yeah. And especially if you build your entire edit around the music, which I don't really do on the Toaster channel, but on the Kayak channel I do. Like my entire edit is pretty much built around the music, which then means that like if I need to change a song, like it sucks because I gotta like redo everything. But it really pulls like the video together. It's just music is just so important. But yeah, I pay for Soundstripe. I'm using the trial for Epidemic as well because they have a 1 month trial, and I also pay for Artlist. So I'm
Okay.
kind of basically just like throwing money at the problem right now. It's weird because having two channels, dude, most of them only let you monetize one channel. So
Oh, I see the
yeah,
service will only let you monetize one.
yeah. So right now I only have one monetized channel, but like whenever the Twister channel becomes monetized, I don't want to have to like I want to have songs that are already good to be monetized, you know, not like have to go back and replace them or whatever.
So do you do any ocean kayaking?
I don't. I would love to. Honestly, like any paddle sport sounds fun to me. It's just I just haven't had a chance to. Honestly, is all it is. Like, and especially living out of this van now, I can't because I used to own 8 kayaks, like
Oh
eight
my God.
whitewater. And then I was like, dude, I can't. can't bring all 8 around with me. So I'm down to, I think, 4 now. I'm still working on getting rid of them to where I only have 1. So I guess to answer your question, I have not. I would love to. I just haven't had a chance to.
Well, when you come to SoCal, dude, hit me up. We'll go, like, I can see the ocean right here, dude. We'll go hit the ocean kayak, and this spot, there's like lobster fishing. So we can throw hoop nets and we can catch lobsters.
Dude, that'd be awesome, man. You like throw the net in, you go kayaking, you come back, pick up some lobsters, dude.
And then we can grill in the back of the Honda Element, dude.
Yeah. So actually, what do you do for cooking, man?
Just a Coleman, like 2-burner stove. Nothing crazy. I have like a little propane tank that hooks on there. But the real answer is I don't cook a lot. I really don't, man. Like I just eat cheaply. Like you said, you went to the grocery store and got like chicken. I when I heard that, I was like, that's exactly what I do, you know? Because it's just a lot, man. You gotta like set up, you gotta clean, like you gotta store the food. Whenever I buy food, there's a lot of food waste because it gets hot in the van and then it just expires. So I found it to be more convenient and actually less wasteful when I just buy cheap food, you know, cheap, healthy food whenever I can, you know. But my 2 biggest expenses in the element are fuel and food.
Oh, dude, what are gas prices in California right now? They're probably like stupid
high. $6.30.
Jeez.
Yeah. What about you?
What, like $80 to fill up? $75, $80?
Yeah, like right around that. I have Costco. Pro tip: if you're living van life, get Costco membership because the gas is like 70 cents cheaper.
Okay. Do they let you stay in the parking lot?
No. I mean, I sometimes I go and get a hot dog and like kind of hang out for a bit. But yeah, Costco membership has really saved me a ton of money because fuel is like one of my biggest expenses.
Yeah, I might do that too. Gas here right now is about $4 where I am. If you get to
Oh
some
my
like
God.
areas, it's like $3.50.
I would kill for that, dude.
It used to be like $1.97. Like here.
What?
Yeah, dude. Cost of living here is cheap, man. Like
that's insane.
I mean, it's reflected in the minimum wage. I think the minimum wage for North Carolina is like $7.20 or something like that.
Okay.
And then
yeah, ours is like 15.
Yeah. So it's different cost of living in different areas is really all it is. I remember I actually lived in California. I went to college in California before I dropped out at Cal Poly. And I remember there, like, I just didn't have enough money to make it work, man. Everything was too expensive. I could buy like 1 Chipotle burrito there, and back home in Massachusetts at the time, I could buy 2 of them for like the same price. And
whoa, that's insane. I can't believe there's such a like difference between just the states, you know?
Yeah. And it makes me feel like, what if I ever moved there? You know, like let's say I like settled down, like got a house in California, like, dude, I'm lucky to break like $20,000 a year right now guiding.
Sure.
But that's enough here in California. Like that's not enough, you know?
Well, I'm super hopeful that your YouTube channel takes off because there's no cap, right? You can be making $20,000 a month, you know, if it goes well. And I think
go ahead.
I think that the path that you're on, and you know, you're all in basically. So it's only a matter of time till that happens, you know.
And that's the way I view it too. Is like people are always scared of failing, right? People are scared of that, and I was like, well, how can I fail? Like literally, what has to happen for me to fail, right? And the first thing I can think of is like I get injured or hurt to the point where I can't physically make videos anymore, which would suck. But like that is a way to fail. Then the only other way to fail is like that I just give up. And so if I don't give up and I don't get hurt, which I realize like is not just like as simple as saying don't get hurt, but like if I don't give up and don't get hurt, like I literally can't fail. It might take me a little longer, but I literally can't fail. And I think that goes for anybody doing anything. Like as long as you're not giving up on it, and as long as you're physically able to do it, like it's always there.
And even if honestly, even if you get hurt, you can start to commentate on it. You can, you know, provide news and updates on that world if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
Or you can just pivot the channel, you know?
I guess instead of getting hurt, it'd be like, don't die. Like,
yeah. If you're dead, you're dead. So
I guess, yeah, exactly. If you're dead, like, yeah, problem solved. You know, you're not running out of money when you're dead.
But you'll be living a life without regrets. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because you die doing what you love.
And that's exactly how I viewed it. Is like, dude, like, because you can die any day, man. Like, you can
Sure.
literally just like, wander out and like a bus runs you over. You know, and like there's nothing you can do about that. So why not push for whatever your goals are? You know, like why not try to live a life that you want to live, that you dream of? There's no reason to put that off indefinitely just because you're scared of what might happen.
Yeah, like what's the point of waiting till you're 50, 60 retired? Your body's not going to work as well, and you might die before then.
Yeah, I gotta climb onto the roof of this thing to like get my gear because it's stored on the top in a
Sure.
basket. And I was thinking about it the other day, I was like, dude, if I were 65 and like had mobility issues, like there's no way I'm climbing on top of the roof.
There's no
And
way.
like sometimes so I used to have to go through the sunroof because I thought it would be like, I thought it'd be cool to like, it's like a submarine hatch, like you open it up, I grab my gear, like close back down. I was like, this is cool. And then one day, and I was like, oh, I didn't think about this. I have to like scramble up the side of the car to the top. So lesson learned. I'm actually in the process of trying to figure out how to get a ladder installed, or whether I just buy a regular ladder. I don't know the answer to that yet.
It might be pricey, but I think there's a ladder that kind of goes on the side door. It's like a
Mhm.
goby ladder, I think. Not the one in
Yeah,
the back,
yeah. It's
but there's
three
one
hundred
that,
fifty dollars, or I think $400. And I might just have to. That might be
yeah,
one of those that, like, you just have to spend the money on because
I
it's
know.
stupid, like climbing through the sunroof. I had to dismantle my own living room to like get to my gear that I use every day.
There's one wise old man who said, buy once, cry once. So buy something nice and just, let
Dude,
it last
actually,
forever.
what I realized is living this life, even though like I don't have that much money, but I don't spend that much either. So in a
Yeah.
way, I can almost afford nice things. It's weird. Like I can almost afford more than I did when I lived like a regular life because now my cost of living. I don't know how much it costs me to live a month. Actually, how much does it cost you to live a month?
I'm doing a video about that right now. I'm going through like all of my
Gotcha.
expenses,
Okay.
and I'm gonna calculate like exactly how much it cost me. If you're watching, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you make sure you don't miss that video when it comes out. But yeah, so I'm kind of figuring that out right now. I do live pretty cheaply, but I have a girlfriend now.
Actually, I got questions about how that would work actually, but go
Okay,
on.
yeah. So girlfriends cost a little bit of money. Like you gotta like take them out to dinner and treat them right and all that stuff. So my cost of living has gone up a lot because of that. And not saying that she's like after money or whatever like that, but it's not. I'm not just taking care of myself now. I'm taking care of her and everything too. So
Yeah, and I totally get that too, because like I know for me, I'm pretty okay with discomfort, right? Like if I have to eat
yeah,
cold videos every day for like 3 weeks, like it sucks. But like if that's what I got to do, I'll do it. But I don't expect other people, like whoever I happen to be dating, like I don't expect them to be okay with that.
there
Um,
there's this meme where it's like this guy's in an empty apartment and he's got a beach chair and a big TV
oh
with
yeah,
the yeah,
yeah.
and then the side it's just like an ocean view and they're like this is paradise. And then all the females in the background are like, what the hell? This is
Where's all the furniture? Yeah. How does it work having a girlfriend, man? That's something that I was like, how am I gonna ever do this if I ever like end up dating somebody?
well, I feel like there's just certain women who love it, who love the adventurous van life dude. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I can go on adventures, and I had a bed platform in the back for two people, so we can go on those adventures. With my girlfriend, she's a bit more established in life. Like she has her own home, she has her own business, and so basically, when we hang out together, we either are on an adventure in the element or we're just hanging out at her house. Um,
Gotcha.
so that was kind of like in the middle of the pandemic when we got together. So yeah, it's nice to like have the option of both. Um, but I feel like my van life days are slowly coming to an end.
Starting to settle down, become a real like functioning member of society.
You know, like I still want to go on adventures, but I've saved a lot of money doing van life. And maybe it's time to buy a home soon and settle down and still go on adventure, and I'll become a weekend van lifer, you know. So that day is coming soon, I'm sure.
How old are you, man?
32.
Okay, so you got 6 years on me.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah. Dude, you're young, man. Enjoy it, dude. Enjoy the adventurous life. You're doing it right. You know, like you're gonna have an awesome time for sure.
How do you make money? I know you made a couple videos on it that I like skimmed through real quick. Do you like walk dogs and what else did you do? I know
So
you
I
said
do
dogs and stuff
so
too.
I teach yoga.
That's
Okay.
right.
And so I'm kind of in this one area, and I've established myself as a yoga teacher in this area.
Mhm.
I walk dogs because I have a lot of like gaps in between my classes.
Yeah.
So I can just go to someone's house and then walk their dog, or sometimes I stay at their house, which is nice. So I have a place to shower and stuff. So
Mhm.
check out Rover, link down below in the description. um, and in school, I studied dance, and I also teach Argentine tango, which was something I just started, and then the pandemic happened, and then everything shut down, and I'm just starting that up again because things have like opened up and stuff. So, and then
Gotcha.
YouTube.
So pretty similar. I think we're doing pretty similar things then, except instead of yoga and dance, I'm doing kayaking related stuff. Because like same, I just bounce from outfitter to outfitter and guide their trips, and there's a lot of weird downtime in between that like it's like just long enough that I can't like do anything really, but like like it's the perfect length for me to not be able to like actually do something I want to do during that time. Like, hang out, do whatever.
You can work
Um,
on your YouTube videos, man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, stuff like that. TikTok, dude. Are you on TikTok at all?
I was, but I found myself scrolling more than actually creating content.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like because maybe it was just me, but I feel like because I'm a little bit older, I just didn't connect with the audience as much. Um,
Yeah, that's fair.
you know, it just never really caught on. And I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna focus on one thing and growing one audience, it's gonna be YouTube. So I deleted TikTok, and I'm just all in on YouTube right now.
And I think that's probably the better decision, to be honest, because TikTok is
Yeah.
just like, dude, TikTok is an investment. Because in order to create TikTok content that hits big, you have to know what the trends are. You have to be connected to your audience. And in order to do that, you have to be scrolling through TikTok a bunch. So like, dude, I'm doing pretty well on TikTok, relatively speaking. Like I got like 11,000 followers, I think.
Mm,
But like
nice.
it's a time commitment. And also the good news is that it doesn't take as much time to film. I can create a TikTok in like 15 to 20 minutes, whereas the YouTube video usually takes me closer to like a full day or two to make happen. So like just time commitment's easier. But also like it's so TikTok's like overrun by like 12-year-olds, dude. Like you say
Yeah.
like one thing that gets interpreted wrong, like a bunch of 12-year-olds are like super mad about you, and you're just like, dude, like I'm just trying to like chill and hang out, you know.
Yeah, I've YouTube obviously pays better
Yeah.
than TikTok creation, and I've heard that there isn't a great conversion from TikTok to YouTube. Like people who watch TikTok content don't quite watch YouTube content. Um, so yeah, I'm just all in on YouTube, and I think that's what's gonna work for me. You know,
Yeah, and I think this genre is a good genre to be in
sure.
because there's a lot of people. I think the ideal time would have been like a year ago or 2 years ago, but it's still continuing to. I think van life and as a whole is continuing to grow. I think a lot more people are getting interested in it, whether they're like actually wanting to do it or if they're settled down and they just think about doing it. Whatever the answer is, I think it's a growing genre, dude. And there's so many questions that people have that
Yep.
people like us can answer, right? Like people are asking like, oh, like even the simple things, where do you go to the bathroom? You're like, okay, well, I mean, there's literally gas stations, Walmart's, like anything that you need to go to the bathroom with. Where do you shower? Like, I mean, I don't know what you do. I have a Planet Fitness membership, which I feel like is what most people do, is they just hop
Yeah.
like Planet. Yeah. But also most of the outfitters I work at has a shower. And the rest of the squad I volunteer with has a shower. So like with all those places, like there's showers. And it almost, like I almost feel like we have the ability to be at the forefront of people that are looking to get into this. Like, hey, like this is how we did it. Obviously what you're going to do is different because you're personalized differently, but like, hey, this is how we did it. And I think this genre is, I mean, I think it already has taken off, but I think it's only going to get bigger.
You know, what's interesting is that there's a subsect of the van life, you know, and I really think like the Honda Element content is growing, because there's so many channels I see that are popping up here and there, all about the Honda Element, people living in their Honda Element. So I think like even niching down from the van life and then taking that into like the Honda Element in particular, there's like a cult like following around it. So I think it's smart that you kind of niche down, because you can grow that core audience, and then from there it'll continue to build, you know?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that was completely accidental. Like I wish I could say that was like some like crazy strategy. It didn't know. I just happened to pick an element. I just happened to get into it at the exact same, because I did notice, so I put my channel up, right? And I was just like, oh, whatever, like it's an element channel. I figured it'd take a long time for people to find me. But this channel is a month and a half old and I'm at like 150 subscribers, which is insane to think about. Like within a month and a half, that's already where I am. And element YouTubers like yourself, I mean, we're literally talking right now, you know, like I feel like any other channel, if I put it up, like within a month and a half, I would not be on a podcast with somebody that runs their own channel as well. Like I feel like that's just the growth of it. I think it, yeah, like you said, I think it's exploding right now.
Definitely. All right, amigo, I think that's a good note to end on. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. You guys, if you're watching, be sure to subscribe to follow along on his adventures. Subscribe to this channel as well, so you can see more van life and Honda Element content. And you guys take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
All right, thanks.